Well, the mantra really is just keep pounding. It is what it is.
Panther fans, welcome to the Panthers Report. This right here is where passion meets the playbook here on the Panthers Report. I am your host, The Reed Report, and if you bleed that blue, black, silver, you're in the right place. So I just want to give y'all an introduction of me, who I am, my background on being a Carolina Panthers fan before. You know, that's pretty much what we want to do here. We want to give an introduction because we're going to have a lot of things to talk about with the Carolina Panthers. But before we do that, let's get to an introduction. Let me introduce myself as a Carolina Panthers fan. Now, I didn't grow up with football. In fact, I didn't start watching football closely until about 2005. I was around, I think I turned 14 that year. That's when I first started really paying attention to divisions, how schedules work and things like that. My fandom actually started though with a video game.
Midway presents NFL Blitz 2001.
It was NFL Blitz. I believe it wasn't the first one. It was NFL Blitz 2001. And my brother and I were playing. I didn't know the rules, so or how things work like that. Like I said, I was new to football, so I picked my team purely based on best looking logo and best looking colors. And I just happened to land on the Carolina Panthers. 2001, they went 1-15. And that was just one bad year of, many more to come. But I say that to say this, trust me. No one can ever accuse me of being a bandwagon fan. I was here for the struggles from day one. They won one game against Minnesota that year and lost the next 15. I do remember watching them in the Super Bowl in 2003, but I still wasn't deep into football yet. I wasn't, deep into it until 2005. That's when I started really paying attention. And in that year, they made it to the playoffs as a wild card. They made it all the way to the NFC Championship. And I knew I was a fan because I was hot when they got blown out by the Seattle Seahawks in the championship game, because that should have been us. That period of 2003 to 2005, we had a window. The Carolina Panthers had a window in which they could have very well won a Super Bowl. I remember in 2004, Steve Smith broke his arm. They started 1-7 that year, but they ended up finishing 6-2. So really bad start, really strong finish. But had he not got injured that year, who knows? That may have been our year. So after that 2005 season, the Panthers didn't make it back to the playoffs until 2008. And we were Super Bowl favorites that year. I remember that. And it's so easy to run off Panther playoff history because there's not a lot, 30 years and only 8 playoff appearances. But in that Super Bowl, in that year in 2008, man, they had a strong run game. Jake Delhomme was, he was a game manager. He wasn't a very strong quarterback, but the loss to the Cardinals in the divisional round, that one just crushed me, because once again, I'm this is our year. We can win the Super Bowl. We were a good enough team, but Jake Delhomme went out there flinging it through 5 interceptions, and it was a wrap from there. Strong start because D'Angelo Williams actually opened the game with a touchdown, and then Arizona just flickered and blew us out from there. Larry Fitzgerald. It was a historic game for the Cardinals, not so much for the Panthers. But after that, they went on a 5-year playoff drought until Cam Newton arrived. That's right. Cam Newton arrived, and Cam Newton shined. And if you remember the season before Cam Newton, I remember watching that season in 2010. They went 2-14 with just 16 total offensive touchdowns the entire year. So that's 16 games back then. So they averaged out 1 touchdown per game. The teams they beat were San Francisco and Arizona. And that was I think 23 points was the most they had scored all season. The Panthers were a really terrible team. Tony Pike, Jimmy Clausen, Matt Moore at quarterback, maybe someone else, but they were not a good team at all with just 16 touchdowns. And then in 2011, when Cam came around, oh my goodness. They finished only 6-10, But man, oh man, he breathed a nice fresh air into that organization that they desperately needed. Cam came out of the draft, and I remember some of my friends, some of my people at school was saying, oh, he's going to be a bust like Jamarcus Russell, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, y'all clearly ain't watching Cam Newton at Auburn. Like, y'all just hating for no reason. But when Cam stepped on that field, man, he accounted for about, 35 touchdowns by himself. He threw for like 21, rushed for like 14. Cam was off the chart. Rookie of the year. The Panthers were the first team in the division to three-peat in a division where you had like different winners every year. I remember it was a time where, since the realignment in 2002, the team that finished last in the division finished first the next year. And the Panthers actually broke that drought because they finished third in 2007 while the Falcons finished fourth, but the Panthers won it in 2008. So they broke that drought after 2007. Back to Cam, the breath of fresh air he gave to that franchise. Won MVP, Super Bowl 50 run. As you see, I'm wearing the Super Bowl 50 shirt right here. The golden year. And this year, predictions are coming, but Super Bowl 60, 10 years later, is in the same city, same stadium. In 2015, didn't nobody see it coming, so who knows? 2025 could be the same year, so we'll see. Now, this is why the Panthers mean so much to me. I'm a Lakers fan. I'm a huge Lakers fan. I love the LA Lakers. Been rocking with the Lakers since Kobe and Shaq. 1999, 2000. I remember the first three-peat. I remember the game against the Pacers, a closeout game. I remember the Sixers and the Nets, seeing Kobe close out 2 years in a row in his home area. He's from Philly, but Philly and Jersey aren't far from each other, and he closed out in Jersey the following year. So those were cool moments for me as a Laker fan. But through all of it, I have to say this, man. The Panthers have always been, since I started rooting for them and getting into football, they've always been my number one team. I've always loved the Panthers over all the teams that I root for. I like the Angels in baseball. I've seen the Angels win a championship. Saw the Lakers win multiple championships. I like Duke in college basketball, and I've seen them win multiple championships. But the Panthers are the one team that I root for that has never won a championship. And somehow they're my favorite team. In 30 plus years as a franchise, we made it to the playoffs only I think I mentioned earlier, 8 times. We're currently on a 7-year playoff drought. There's been ups, but boy, there's been so many downs. There's been so many downs, and I've been here for all of it. Never had back-to-back winning season. Yes, they won those 3 straight division championships, but as you remember, in the middle year, they finished 7-8-1. So, like I said, man, I've been here for it all. I have been here for it all. Love the Panthers. Irritate me a lot. These last 7 years have been mostly a lot of frustration. So this is what you can expect from this channel, and I appreciate you all for taking this time to tune in to the Panthers Report. This is what you can expect from this channel. On the Panthers Report, we'll break it all down. We give live game reactions. I love live streaming. Y'all come in, join your boys so we can watch the Carolina Panthers and, follow football all around. But, we Panthers over here. Weekly recaps. We're going to do weekly recaps, talking about what went right, what went wrong, where we can improve. Player deep dives. We got to get into all that. Trade and draft updates. Honest fan opinions. The kind you can talk about, at the barbershop or the cookout. Let's talk about it all when it comes to the Carolina Panthers. So if you're ready to ride with me all season long, hit that subscribe button. Join the conversation in the comments, and always never forget the most important thing as a Panthers fan. Always remember, keep pounding.
Well, the mantra really is just keep pounding. It is what it is.